We turn to the regional forecast now in association with National Breakdown.
Very good evening to you. Well, after the miserable weather of the weekend, I think we deserve the fine weather today. Now, we are very near the end of the month, so we'll start off by having a look at the rainfall figures. Right, well, there we are. Well, in fact, that's not the final total. That's just a reminder that last Monday we'd only had 5 millimetres of rain, and of course we need 47 for the whole of the month. But look what's happened in the space of a week, up to 56 millimetres, so above average there. Now, moving on to the sunshine, well, it's easy to forget the sunshine after the bad weather we've had recently, but in fact we were way above normal, 183 hours, the average being 113. You'll also notice that that is now a new record. It beat the sunniest in 1986. Well, let's now move on and have a look at this morning's satellite picture, and you can see the reason for the fine weather. We're there between two weather systems, the weekend weather going away there to the east, but you will notice out to the west a lot of cloud there. That's going to bring some rain later on tonight, but at the moment we are in the fine weather, and that's reflected in this evening's weather. It's dry right across the region with broken cloud and some evening sunshine, and temperatures around about 11 centigrade. Now, as we go overnight, well, the first part of the night will be dry, but we will find it becoming increasingly cloudy. And out to the west there, you can see rain clouds gathering. And after midnight, it looks as though rain will spread to many parts of the region, although it should be light. And all the time, that wind's going to be perking up a little bit from the southwest. Temperatures tonight down to about 8 centigrade, 46 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, that's the way we start. Cloudy, some rain about, rather windy from the west there. But that rain is soon going to clear away, and all parts brightening up there, some sunshine, just the odd shower around. And temperatures tomorrow, well, could go as high as 15 degrees centigrade, that's 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Now tomorrow's summary chart.
Entertainment for Monday with Coronation Street.
I could sue that hotel for what happened, you know.
What could you do?
Too darn right I could. Definitely book separate rooms.
Oh, sorry to keep you waiting, look, they are paid for.
OK, thanks, Betty. Yeah. I don't know what Alan's been saying, but you can take it from me. We behave with the utmost propriety. It was all above board. Even if it was a bit embarrassing.
Then Michael Barrymore introduces the quiz show Strike It Lucky.
What's your name, sir?
What's my name?
Got a feeling tonight that we're not actually going to play the game.
Highlights for early Monday evening here on ITV. The local news and talking points now in Monday's edition of Calendar.
Cough to the bunker. Hello, good evening and welcome to Calendar. The two biggest fire services in our region say they're facing a crisis because of government spending cuts. South Yorkshire Fire Service is warning it may not be able to meet even minimum fire cover standards next year. And in West Yorkshire, fire chiefs say that eventually lives could be at risk if the cutbacks continue. Today, the Fire Services Minister, Earl Ferrers, visited the county's headquarters at Birkenshaw near Bradford. This report from Ian McLaren.
West Yorkshire Fire Service has already frozen recruitment, and some specialised firefighting machines are being mothballed. It's estimated that by the end of next March, the brigade will be 120 firefighters under strength. The West Yorkshire Authority fears there will be no let-up in cuts on spending, £3 million expected next year.
Home Office approved establishment of whole-time firefighters for this West Yorkshire Authority is 2,000 personnel. At the moment, we've 1,913. By this time next year, will be some 1,800, which is about 10% short of whole-time firefighters in West Yorkshire.
The Fire Services Minister, Lord Ferrers, visited the West Yorkshire Brigade headquarters today, including this new training school, underused at present because of a freeze on recruits. For fire chiefs, it was perhaps their last chance to save the brigade from what they see as irreparable damage in the future.
Various specialist fire appliances are no longer available, and this has meant that in the event of a large fire or a serious fire, we have been less capable of dealing with that particular type of incident.
And the effect of the drain on resources soon works its way through to fire service staff.
Morale has taken a bashing lately. The membership see that their conditions have been eroded. They see fire engines going off the run and being hampered in their ability to do the job.
West Yorkshire claims it has special difficulties dealing with fires in large industrial cities and remote country areas. But it may be difficult to convince the government.
There's hardly one authority, whether it's a police authority or a fire authority, that doesn't wish at the moment to have more money. And for that matter, there's hardly a local authority that doesn't want to spend more on education, more on housing, more on hospitals. The fact is that the government is constrained over money because you have a general recession.
No one's saying lives could be at risk at the moment, but fire chiefs are warning eventually it could come to that.
If non-recruitment continues over a number of years, there will come a point where the public will be at risk.
Meanwhile, in South and West Yorkshire, crews are being reduced in size, engines break down, and there's no money for specialised equipment. The answer, they say, is a fairer distribution of funds to the bigger metropolitan fire brigades.
Ian McLaren reporting there. There are fears over the availability of treatment for the crippling disease arthritis, which doctors say will affect 1 in 5 of us. The British Medical Association has already called for a meeting with the government to discuss provision for people with such long-term acute illnesses. This weekend, the charity Arthritis Care told a conference on Humberside that new health service reforms may cut back expensive treatment for sufferers. Now, arthritis is inflammation of the joints, and as Wendy Homewood reports, it affects the young and old alike.
It's often assumed that arthritis is a disease which affects only the elderly. But 3-year-old Samantha Hunsley from Scunthorpe knows that's not true. She is a sufferer, diagnosed at the age of just 11 months. Some days, even with the drugs and physiotherapy which help control the condition, she's in severe pain.
She just changes from a normal, happy 3-year-old into an aggressive, irritable, unhappy child that doesn't really know why she's unhappy. She's in pain. She doesn't know why she's in pain. And she wants Mummy to make her better, but Mummy can't.
You must feel very helpless.
Yes, that's the worst. Knowing that your child is in pain continually and you cannot do anything to stop that pain when it flares is the hardest.
Something like 1 in 5 people in Britain will be affected by arthritis at some time in their lives. 15,000 sufferers are children like Samantha.
I think it's a very, very hard disease for families to cope with. I think parents need a great capacity to handle the children, to support the children, because it obviously becomes very difficult at times. Your child is in pain, in discomfort. The children often become socially depressed and unhappy, and the parents need an awful lot of support.
Delegates at the Arthritis Care Conference in Scunthorpe heard of fears that health service reforms could lead to sufferers being treated as second-class citizens.
Especially now with the white paper, there's things going on that we're a little bit worried about. Obviously now GPs controlling their budget, it could mean that people with arthritis lose out because they're not very attractive patients anymore. They mean long-term treatment, they cost a lot of money, they've got to go to physiotherapists, OTs and so on. So the money's coming from various sources. So yeah, they're very expensive patients now.
The Department of Health today admitted that difficult choices will have to be made by health authorities in the light of competing priorities. But the department said in a statement that there was no question under the reforms of any group being unfashionable. Officials say the needs of sufferers will continue to be assessed locally by health authorities in consultation with GPs. It's because of concern that some authorities won't be able to meet those needs that the BMA has called for a meeting with health ministers. Meanwhile, the plight of children like Samantha is being used by arthritis campaigners to highlight the need for more research into the disease.
Wendy Homewood reporting on the problems of arthritis victims. Now a summary of the rest of the day's news from your part of the region.
Thank you, Christa, and welcome to the Calendar East News Desk. It's been revealed today that the 5 police officers who went to the aid of the Lincoln man savaged by pit bull terriers were offered special counselling after the attack. At a ceremony to mark the bravery of the officers, Lincolnshire's Chief Constable said the attack on Frank Tempest had been one of the most traumatic incidents the force had ever dealt with. Jessica Naden reports.
I see Councillor Cupid, the Vice Chairman, Mrs Turner, Mr Fippard and Mr Bird's representative.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, we seem to have a problem with that. A man has appeared in court in Worksop charged with the rape of a young girl at a North Nottinghamshire beauty spot. The attack on an 11-year-old from Sheffield took place in Clumber Park on August the 4th. Christopher Ponert is alleged to have carried out the assault. He was remanded in custody to Lincoln Prison for a week. Police have named the victims of a crash near Bridlington which left 2 people dead and 5 others injured. The accident happened between the villages of Thornholme and Burton Agnes on the A166 Bridlington to Beverley Road last night. Leslie Collinson, who was 38 from Pontefract, died when the car in which she was travelling collided with another. 11-year-old Craig Stevens from Bridlington, who was a passenger in the second car, was also killed. 5 others injured in the crash are in a serious but stable condition in Hull Royal Infirmary. 4 prisoners who escaped from Lindholm Prison in Doncaster at the weekend are still on the run this evening. Prison officers at the jail are calling for increased security after prisoners escaped in 3 separate incidents. The first 2 escapes took place on Friday night and 2 more prisoners went missing on Sunday. Prison officers are calling for improvements to the fencing around the Category C prison. More than 2,000 objections have been lodged to a proposed regional airport for South Lincolnshire. Today's the deadline for comments on the scheme. So far, only 300 letters of support have been received. Jessica Naden reports on the controversy surrounding the proposed East of England's airport.
The developers' Lands Improvement Group are proposing a single 1,200-metre runway, a hotel and a business park on 380 acres of farmland outside Crowland near Spalding. They say a regional airport will be likely to bring substantial benefits to the locality, including 250 jobs, but the proposal has already met public opposition. This local farmer's land overlooks the airport site.
We don't think they should use a greenfield site, especially on this land in this area. It's grade 1 and grade 2 farming land, and there's a possibility that military airfields could become available within the next few years. And I think I would like to quote Sir Richard Boddy's remark when he said that by the turn of the next century, the world's population will have doubled, and the land that we have will be infinitely valuable.
Today is the deadline for public comment. South Holland District Council has so far received 2,300 objections and only 300 letters of support. It follows a strong campaign by the anti-airport lobby. They've held a series of public meetings and won the support of local Tory MPs, Sir Richard Boddy and Quentin Davis. South Holland Council will consider the planning application next month, and they've commissioned an independent study of the development. It's likely the matter will go to the Secretary of State for the Environment before a final decision is made.
Jessica Naden reporting. A project aimed at improving the health of everyone in Sheffield has been launched today. The project, called Healthy Sheffield, is the largest ever undertaken on health issues in a British city. Dominic Cheetham reports.
The massive public consultation scheme launched at Sheffield City Hall has brought together various organisations which all deal with the public. Over the next 6 months, more than half the city's population will be asked what action should be taken to improve their health. The city's 1,000 voluntary organisations are being targeted, particularly those involved with ethnic minorities and the elderly.
Many voluntary organisations are working with the poorest section of the community, giving them help and advice, providing services, counselling and so on. By those organisations contributing actively to development of services, both for themselves and with the statutory bodies, they can do a great deal more to enhance the well-being of the community.
Once the consultation is finished, it's hoped the organisations involved in Healthy Sheffield will follow its advice, not only in targeting problems like heart disease, but helping the population make the most of what Sheffield has to offer to make its people healthy and happy.
Market chain Asda has announced it wants to raise over £350 million to ease its financial problems. Asda, which is based in Leeds, is appealing to shareholders to buy new shares worth £357 million. The money will be used to pay off debts. The company got into difficulty when it borrowed over £700 million to buy the Gateway chain 2 years ago. Since then, it's been badly affected by the recession and high interest rates, and it now owes the banks almost £1 billion. Well, sport now, and a last-minute search has begun to find an opponent for the Sheffield boxer Harold Graham's comeback fight tomorrow night. A third challenger, Frank Grant from Bradford, has been forced to pull out after failing a brain scan. Promoter Barry Hearn is now hoping to fly in an Argentinian boxer in time for the bout. It's now doubtful, though, whether it will be classed as a title fight of any sort. Graham hasn't fought since he was knocked out by the WBC middleweight champion Julian Jackson in Spain last November. Volunteer observers monitored a section of the East Coast against nuclear attack for the last time yesterday. The 15th group of the Royal Observer Corps has maintained a lookout at Fiskerton near Lincoln for 65 years. But now, with the Cold War a thing of the past, the unit is finally calling it a day. Finally, a Sheffield team are celebrating after coming second in the British Drum Corps Championships. 8,000 people turned out to watch the country's 18 top bands at Sheffield Wednesday's Hillsborough Ground the weekend for the British Championships. Over 1,500 people aged 10 to 25 took part. Sheffield's entry, Concord, improved on last year's third place, only missing the top position by just 1/10 of a point. The winners were the Blue Eagles from Essex, who took the title for the third year running. That's it for me for now. Back to Christa.
Coming up in part 2, hundreds brave the rain to fight for the right to walk on the moors, and some advice on how to sneak out of the office.
We'll also have goal, of course, but we go into the break with the biggest name in rugby league. At the start of yesterday's game with Swinton, Ellery Hanley hadn't scored a try for his new club, Leeds. By the end, in front of 9,500, he'd scored a hat-trick, in some style. Congratulations, Ellery.
It won't open. My shampoo and conditioner are locked in. It's no problem. Here, use my wash and go. Thanks, but my hair needs a proper conditioner. So does mine.
Vidal Sassoon Wash and Go. Salon shampoo and complete conditioner in one for clean, perfectly conditioned, beautifully soft hair.
Oh, your hair looks great. What about your shampoo and conditioner? I don't use shampoo and conditioner. These days I just wash and go.
Great hair, no fuss. Just wash and go.
If you're looking for dining room furniture, you've found the right place. Because at the Dining Room Centre, that's all we sell. Beautiful, fine furniture, direct from the specialist. Right now, we're even giving 3 years interest-free credit on the entire collection. That's 3 whole years free credit on everything. So if you're looking for furniture for the dining room, you've found the right place. The Dining Room Centres, Carcroft, Thorpe Arch and Darley-Dale.
Yes, welcome back, and now a look at the rest of the day's news from the Calendar East region. The MP for Gainsborough and Horncliffe, Edward Lee, has today called to safeguard the future of the Lincolnshire Wolds. Mr. Lee told delegates at a conference organised by the Countryside Commission that they needed to work together to preserve the area. This report from Wendy Homewood.
The Lincolnshire Wolds, an area of outstanding natural beauty. But in recent years, this rolling countryside has undergone a dramatic change. The demands of modern agriculture have resulted in the loss of features like woodlands, hedgerows and natural chalk grasslands. And there are those who believe the area could be seriously threatened without a proper strategy to control development in the Wolds.
It's immensely valuable as part of the environment. It's a place where a great many interesting birds and wildflowers can live. And it's a sort of landscape that originally covered the whole of the Wolds. Now there's about 50 hectares out of 56,000 hectares in the Wolds that is left in old-fashioned, unimproved grassland. That's all that's left.
Gainsborough and Horncastle MP Edward Lee has today called on local authorities to work together to ensure the future of the Wolds landscape.
I think what we want to see coming out of the conference is a determination by all the authorities concerned to really work very closely together to ensure that we have a concerted plan to save what is one of the most beautiful areas in the country, one of the most unspoiled, and to have a concerted plan to deal with intensive development, with tourism, and with modern agricultural methods.
The Lincolnshire Wolds have already won national recognition by their designation as an area of outstanding natural beauty. It's now up to the landowners and local authorities to make sure they retain their rural charm.
Wendy Homeward reporting, and remaining on a countryside theme, thousands of ramblers across the country have come out in force demanding the right to walk on more of Britain's countryside. In our region, demonstrations were held in Colby in Lincolnshire and Burton Agnes near Bridlington. The biggest, however, was on Thirlston Moor in South Yorkshire, where 600 people staged a mass trespass. Sarah Dearden joined some of the protesters.
It was billed as Forbidden Britain Day, when walkers from across the country came out in protest to fight for what they believe are their rights. In this region, over 100 people staged a protest in Burton Agnes near Bridlington over footpaths they say have been ploughed up. And there were angry confrontations in Colby in Lincolnshire over footpaths which have allegedly been blocked off.
There isn't a footpath here.
There is a footpath here, and there's been a footpath here for 50 years.
It's not on the definitive map.
It is not
I don't want to argue with you. So get off.
The biggest demonstration, however, took place in South Yorkshire, when over 600 people staged a mass trespass demanding public access to Thirlston Moor near Barnsley.
There's no proven reason why we can't go on this land, and therefore people are saying, let's have the right, and I'm campaigning for the right to walk here freely without the threat of being turned off at gunpoint, by hustlers, by anybody.
The protests were aimed at the owners of the land, Yorkshire Water. However, they say no public access to the land can be granted without the agreement to the owners of the shooting rights on Thirlston Moor.
Well, this is the difficulty with these moorlands. The Yorkshire Water does own the land, but there is a sporting rights interest, and we have to take account the interests and views of the sporting rights owner before we can grant further access.
Pilkington Estates, based locally at this land agency in Barnsley, are the owners of the shooting rights. And in a statement to Yorkshire Television, they say the estate has, in principle, no opposition to public access on Thirlston Moor in the long term, and it is willing to enter into negotiations if approached.
It's clear that Yorkshire Water needs to go back and think very hard about its policies towards public access and how it implements those policies, because the public isn't going to tolerate forever being kept out. We've seen today 560 members of the Ramblers Association, as well as other members of the public, turning up to demonstrate the need for access, and the ball is now very firmly in Yorkshire Water's court.
I hope that the interest that's being aroused today.
Veteran rambler Benny Rothman led the rally, given a helping hand with the amplifier by comedian Mike Harding. Benny's no stranger to mass trespasses. In the 1930s, he ended up in jail after leading the trespass on Kinder Scout in the Peak Park. 60 years later, he says the campaign is far from over.
Nobody has got a right to stop us. Why have any landowners? All right, they bought the land, but they haven't bought the countryside, and they haven't bought the views, and they've not yet bought the air. They might try that sometime.
Yorkshire Water say no legal action will be taken against the trespassers.
Well, now it's time for a look back at the weekend soccer action. Coming up, some moments of madness from the region's teams, mixed in with the usual amount of exceptional bursts of skill. All in this week's goal.
Liverpool going in front, Ray Houghton scoring here used to mean curtains for the visitors. Not now. John Hawkes earns a draw for Wednesday. No goals for an hour at Norwich, then 4 in 20 minutes. Dale Gordon striking first. Tony DeRigo's gentle tap-in for Leeds' equaliser, and then a cannonball header from Chris White left Gary Speed with the time and space to do what he likes best. The points were shared though. Here's Flash Gordon's second of the match. Sloppy defending cost Grimsby. David Lowe unchallenged to score for Ipswich. And though Neil Woods helped Dave Gilbert fashion a cracking equaliser, Ipswich ploughed the same furrow and accepted a gift from Jim Dobbin for Gavin Johnson's winner. Huddersfield took their unbeaten record to Leyton Orient and wished they hadn't, but what a way to go, Keith Day. The stroke of luck helped Bradford. Phil Babb surely didn't mean the ball to go there, but Stephen Torpey wasn't going to argue, and his second goal inside a minute helped obliterate the memory of an abysmal first half. Wes Reed removed any doubts about Bradford's right to 3 points with the goal of the day. Not much fun being a Rotherham fan. Cold day at Blackpool, and David Ayer's goal was the first of 3 for the men in Tangerine who dream of promotion. Paul Groves with the second. And when your luck's really out, Rodwell shot cruelly deflected off Law. A goal down to Aldershot, Chesterfield hit back through Warren Hawke on his debut, and the winner came 4 minutes from the end with the perfect chest control of Steve Williams. One Mansfield goal sank York from Stuart Nethercott, aged 19. With shots that must be aimed at making opponents ill, Scarborough took the lead through A.D. Mayer and then shrugged off a Burnley equaliser to score again through Tommy Mooney, and in the second half, John Ashtian. And finally, for all you Hull City masochists desperate to see how your lot lost, here it is from West Brom's Darryl Burgess.
Well, not very good for Hull there, but if all that Ryder Cup golf action over the weekend made you yearn for a quick round today rather than going to work, then a country club near Grantham is for you. It's called simply Golf for Skivers, and that's exactly what it is, because for a fee they'll pretend overworked executives are in the office when they're really out on the fairway. From the Belton Woods Hotel, Chris Kiddy sent this report.
Mr. X, the busy executive, arrives at the golf club. I'm sorry, that's the office if anybody should call. Here they'll provide him with a disguise, a secretary, a caddy come personal assistant, and a golfing, sorry, that should be business partner. The caddy scans the FT, the secretary takes the calls.
This is a bit of a tricky shot here. By the way, have you seen anything about this new gold prizes?
Up or down? Up there now.
Excuse me, there was a call for you from New York.
Oh, lovely, thank you very much.
The idea came from a telephone call that we got when our telephonist said, the gentleman you want to speak to is on a course. And that prompted an idea, well, they could be having a meeting on the golf course, not in the hotel. So that's where it transpired from.
By the way, sir, I see the silver's dropped 12 points.
How much?
Excuse me, sir, there's another call for you from Tokyo.
Thank you. Yes.
Another tricky shot here, sir. By the way, I see water shares have just dropped by 20 pence. It's a bit dishonest, isn't it?
No, not really. I honestly believe an awful lot of business is done on the golf course, and we should really encourage people to get back on there and do what is their normal business.
It could all go horribly wrong, though.
Excuse me, sir, before you hit this putt, there's some more parties about conglomerates here.
And I have your accountants on the phone for you.
And zinc is also taking a turn for the worse, so...
Can you call your bank manager, sir?
And lead has fallen out of the market completely.
And also, can you please return your accountant's call? And your solicitors? And your wife?
Maybe you should have gone to work after all.
Chris Kiddy reporting, and if you're going to skive off tomorrow, you'll want to know what the weather's like. The man who can tell us is Bob Rust.
Thanks, John. Well, the weekend was pretty atrocious, but we have seen an improvement today, and the prospects for tomorrow are not too bad. But overnight, we are expecting some rain. So we'll start off by having a look at tonight's details, and we'll find much of the evening will be dry, but it'll be after midnight. Thickening cloud will bring some rain across the region. Generally light rain, though. And temperatures tonight could go as low as 8 centigrade, that's 46 degrees Fahrenheit. And the wind freshening up towards the end of the night. And then moving on to tomorrow, well, we'll start off like that. A lot of clouds, some spots of rain to begin with, but it won't be too long before things brighten up. Most places becoming dry, some sunny intervals developing. I think in Pennine areas there may still be the odd shower around. The important thing tomorrow is fairly windy, strong westerly winds, top temperature 15 centigrade.
Thanks, Bob. And finally from Calendar East tonight, it's been disclosed that the freed hostage Jackie Mann has asked his old employers, the RAF, if he can have a closer look at the Spitfire, which flew out from a Lincolnshire airbase to welcome him home. And we leave you tonight with England's last remaining Spitfire, which will shortly be dispatched to meet Jackie Mann. From all of us to all of you, a very good night to you.
10:30 a.m. on Saturday, August the 3rd, and a man entered the Leeds Permanent Building Society on Market Street, Huddersfield. He walked up to a counter and handed a note to one of the cashiers, concealed in a Building Society brochure. It said he had a gun and wanted money. The cashier then went to confer with a colleague. She showed him the note, and together they went to the safe. They unlocked it and loaded bundles of banknotes into the man's carrier bag. They then walked back across the office together and handed the cash over to the man. He loaded the money into another carrier bag and left the premises. Police think this man may be able to help with their inquiries. If you recognise him, call Crimestoppers on 0800 555 111. You don't have to give your name, your call is free, and you could claim a Community Action Trust reward.